All right, here we go. Thanks a lot for joining us. This is, in case you're wondering if you're in the right spot, only our first ever webinar at ElderHelp, Program Services and Family Caregiver Support. We are new to the software and we're also new to the technology that exists in this room. So please bear with us if we have any slight technical difficulties. Today we're going to cover ElderHelp's mission and history, programs and services, the volunteer experience, touch on family caregiving, and then have an opportunity for question and answer time at the end. And our presenters today, we've got Shanika Webb, Home Share Coordinator, who's with us via remote, Nancy Kiwanuka, our Transportation Coordinator, Carrie McClellan, our Outreach Manager, and then myself, Teresa, Corporate Relations and Education. Our mission at ElderHelp is to provide personalized services and information that helps seniors remain independent and live with dignity in their own homes. All of our programs that we use are intended to reduce social isolation and any resulting health and medical issues. We know that studies have shown that social isolation and loneliness can lead to a myriad of health-related risk factors and issues such as depression, self-reported poor physical and or mental health, increased risk of chronic disease, high blood pressure, and likelihood of the need for long-term care. Our programs, our service delivery goes through our three main programs, which you'll hear more about in detail from some of our program coordinators. Concierge Club, Seniors a Go-Go, or we often refer to as SAG, and our Home Share program. At ElderHelp, to qualify to receive our services, for the most part, we serve people who are age 60 and over, who are living at home, and it should be noted that that doesn't necessarily mean their own home. They could be living in the home of a loved one or in a home share scenario. They must be able to self-advocate, meaning they will initiate the services with us. They must be interested in receiving help, so we know that when our volunteers go in to provide services that they're going to be welcomed. They must be living in our service area, which includes most of San Diego County. And then, of course, it is all dependent upon volunteer availability for whatever it is that the senior is needing assistance with and the area in which they live. We're a relatively small agency for the size of our reach. Last fiscal year, we served over 7,400 seniors and their families. We had the manpower of over 450 volunteers and a staff of just 17, which includes part-time employees. All of our programs are funded by ongoing grant applications, fundraising events, and through private, individual, and corporate group donations. All of our services are provided to seniors in the area on a 100% donation basis. Shanika is going to talk to you a little bit about our home share program in specific, and I'm going to unmute you here, Shanika. All right, let's see if we can get
Hi. So as Teresa mentioned, I'm Shanika, the Home Share Manager, and through Home Share, we're able to match people together who are looking to live as home roommates, basically. One individual will be the person living in a home that has a spare room to share, and the other person would be someone looking for a room to move into. And there are a few different kinds of arrangements that can be formed between these parties. One would be just a straight rental exchange, where a home seeker would pay rent to their housemate in order to live in the room. And another option would be a service exchange, where the home seeker would be allowed to pay a reduced rent or even no rent in exchange for providing services to their housemate. And those services can be things such as meal preparation, transportation to doctor's appointments or to run errands, or also housekeeping and just general upkeep of the home. Next slide, please. And so for anyone who has a spare room in their home and is looking to share their home with someone, they can have the peace of mind of knowing that their housemate has been screened and vetted by us. Let me see here. Okay. And their housemates can be someone that's a student or a working professional or someone that's retired and looking to downsize to live with someone else. And the motivation for sharing a home also greatly varies from person to person. So some of our members are looking to share in order to receive companionship. Some others are looking for extra rental income that will allow them to manage their expenses better. And others just like the security of knowing that someone else is in the home, especially overnight, just in case something were to happen or someone needed to be contacted. Next slide, please. All right, and on the flip side of that, home seekers can have the peace of mind of knowing that our providers are also screened and vetted by us. We do a thorough home inspection as well as reference checking and a few other things to make sure that they're suitable for the program as well. And our home providers are either independent homeowners living in their own residence or renting from someone who does not mind them sharing the home. And again, the agreement can either be in exchange for rent or services. And so in our cases, homeowners may either need the extra income or someone to move in to provide that help to them. And again, the motivation for home seekers could be different just as well as the home providers. So for some of our home seekers, they're just hoping to have their money stretch a bit further by sharing expenses with someone else. Some others, they may have downsized and are just looking for something that's a bit more suitable for the stage of their life. And others might just want to be in a certain location, whether it be closer to work or to family or to their college campus.
Thank you, Shanika. Now we're going to move into Seniors a Go-Go, and Nancy's going to talk about SAG.
Hi, so I'm Nancy. I'm the Transportation Coordinator with the Seniors a Go-Go program. And so basically my role is making sure that we take the information from the members and get them to their appointments utilizing our volunteers. So I'd say majority of the members who are with the Seniors a Go-Go program no longer drive. Some of them might still drive, but maybe they don't want to use us to go long distances, or if they're requesting something at night, they might not want to drive in the evenings. So the way that the members work is the seniors are picked up from their homes. We have what are called round trips, but we break them down into 2 one-way rides. So we pick them up from their homes and we take them to their appointments. And the appointments can either be medical appointments and social visits. We definitely encourage, while majority of our rides, as you'll see in one of the slides, is for medical appointments, we definitely encourage social visits as well. Our members are able to get 8 round-trip rides a month, and the rides must be within 15 miles of their home. They must be able to transfer in and out of the car with little to no help, so they must be able to ambulate on their own, whether that's using a cane or a walker. And because we use volunteers, we cannot use transport wheelchairs, so unfortunately we're not able to assist members who, we can't take on members who need to use the wheelchair. So as you can see with this slide, this is a number of rides that we provided in 2016. It was over 7,100 rides. A lot of these rides are to medical appointments, but we also take our members shopping through the grocery shopping program, Concierge Club, which provides them more with one-on-one, somebody to be there with them one-on-one, versus the Seniors a Go-Go, where they might have 2 different volunteers who are taking them to and from their appointments. We also have a lot of members who go to places like the Y, or maybe they go to the library. Some of them go meet friends for lunch. a lot of people also like to go to church on Saturdays and Sundays. With the weekend rides, this is something that's more recent. In the past, we didn't have as many volunteers who were available to go for rides on weekends, but that has changed within the last year or so. So we're able to provide more of those rides. And as you can see, these rides were all provided by an average of about 85 active drivers.
Excuse me, I'll just step into the room. Carrie?
Sure. So our Concierge Club program is a program that is really designed for seniors who might be looking for more assistance or might need more assistance than just transportation to their doctor's appointments, but they're not quite ready to share their home with somebody and have them move in to provide certain assistance as well. So through our Concierge Club, we have two components. Our care coordinators provide in-home assessments and advocacy to seniors. So they are the initial point of contact for any senior who is interested in receiving help through this program. They will go to the home and really do an in-depth assessment to find out what services are needed for the senior and also how they are functioning in their home, as well as how they would function outside of their home, so that we can really have a good idea of services that they would benefit from, but also to know how we can connect them to other resources. We look at the environment to make sure that it is safe and sanitary for those individuals to continue living in themselves, but also that it is a safe environment to send a volunteer into. Our care coordinators will then provide ongoing support and advocacy. So after that initial assessment, it really gives us a baseline so that we can understand how somebody is functioning today. But as they progress and things change when life happens, our care coordinators are available to then provide additional resources and support along the path. Volunteers are a large component of the Concierge Club as well, and we match volunteers with seniors based on what the seniors' needs are and what they're requesting help with, but also what the volunteers have interest in assisting with. So you can see the list of what typically our volunteers are providing. They do help with friendly visiting, which is socialization. As Teresa mentioned, we are wanting to reduce social isolation, and really by providing that one-on-one visit, we can help people feel connected and get back out of the house and do fun things. We also help with grocery shopping, so the volunteers will pick up seniors from their home, take them to the grocery store, and then take them back home and help put their groceries away. And that is a service that a lot of seniors are requesting help with, especially if they are utilizing an assisted device for their mobility, and getting around might be a little more challenging for them. We have volunteers who will help with sorting through mails and bills that might come through. Those individuals would be called financial advocates. They can help with balancing checkbooks and really keeping track with the senior to make sure that they're staying on track with their bills. It's also a good chance for the volunteers to make sure our seniors are not being subjected to any scams that are coming through the mail. We have a lot of seniors who have pets as their companions, so they might have a cat or a dog at home with them, and we of course know that they are just as important too, so we want to make sure that our volunteers are able to help with that. Maybe it's walking their dog or helping to take one of their animals to the vet, which can be a little bit challenging if somebody isn't able to drive anymore. So that's something that our volunteers would be able to help with. So our home and garden program can be part of the Concierge Club, but it also can be a standalone. So a lot of times we find that seniors are starting to notice that there are things around their home that could be maybe fixed, or that they need to have modified so that they can function a little bit easier in their home. With our mission, as Teresa mentioned, to have seniors continue to live in their own homes, we want to make sure that their homes are a safe place for them to do that. So we have volunteers who will provide home safety inspections. We're looking at a lot of different aspects of the home that really do come around the fall prevention and making sure that people are able to stay safe and function well in their home. Our volunteers can help to install grab bars. We, of course, are checking smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors to make sure that they are fully functioning. We're looking at things inside the home and outside of the home as far as tripping hazards or fire hazards that might be in place. We have volunteers who have helped to fix many steps and railings, but they've also built railings. So it really just depends on what the seniors' needs are and if we have the volunteers with the expertise to do that project. Most of the items that we would handle through this program would take place inside of the home for safety, but we also do want to help with making sure that lawns are being maintained, that there aren't any fire hazards that might come up with a lot of weeds. So there might be some of those types of aspects that our volunteers would help with outside of the home as well. So if you are interested in becoming a volunteer and joining our team, excuse me, sure.
Okay, so volunteers are our highest needs. The program is really flexible in that you can, if somebody chooses to volunteer, they can drive day, evenings, or weekends. Most of our rides, because they are medical appointments, are usually Monday through Fridays. We do have occasional members who like to go places like, say, to the museums or to dinner in the evenings, but those are don't happen as often. And the weekend rides, a lot of those are to church. So we don't have a minimum commitment or number of rides that we ask our volunteers to do, so it's really dependent on their schedules. In 2016, I had one volunteer who did 250 rides plus, and I think it was about 4 who did 100, and then the rest were anywhere in between. So it really depends on the volunteer's schedule. The nice thing about Seniors A Go-Go's, if they choose to, they can meet a different senior with each ride, or if they come across, a driver comes across somebody that they connect with and this person has a schedule that meshes with them, then they can let the office know and we'll be happy to schedule them with that person so they can take them on a regular basis.
So how to become a volunteer. So any of the volunteer opportunities that we've talked about through our transportation program or Seniors A Go-Go or with our concierge club, all of the volunteers do go through the same process. Any volunteer needs to be age 18 or older, and that's due to our liability. We also ask that everybody completes an application, including references. We have orientations. You can see our next 2 upcoming orientation dates down at the bottom, March 15th and April 8th. At the orientation, we give a good overview about our organization, as well as we go into further detail about the different volunteer opportunities. We do require a background check, which involves Department of Justice as well as FBI clearance. We also do check a driving record through the DMV, and we set up an interview with our volunteer services manager, who will then also be able to provide ongoing support and trainings to the volunteers throughout the time.
Great, thanks, Carrie. Sure. Thanks, Nancy, and thank you, Shanika. I'm going to unmute you now, Shanika. So we have an opportunity now to take any questions that you might have, specifically regarding the Concierge Club, Seniors A Go-Go, the Home Share Program, or the volunteering experience. If you have any specific questions about any or all of that, go ahead and send it to us in the instant message. You can send it privately if you'd like, or publicly. I have one private message that's come up. Shanika, it looks like for you, and the question is about home share. How long does a match usually last?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question. So obviously that's something that could greatly vary just based on the 2 people that are placed together, and each match is going to be different. Right now our average length of a match is about 2 years long, and of course, as I said, some last longer and some end sooner. We have had a match that lasted up to 13 years, and we still have a few that are going strong at about 8 years and 10 years and, other longer numbers. And overall, we just aim that every match lasts at least a year, because we are hoping that it is a permanent housing solution, or at least semi-permanent, and it allows for some kind of sense of stability.
Great. Thank you, Shanika. I appreciate that. We have another question that says, I would like to expand my grandma's social circle and like the idea of concierge service or concierge club, I think you're probably referring to. However, talking my grandma into it might be a challenge. How do you introduce yourselves so that they do not feel threatened? That's an excellent question. Carrie, would you like to field that?
Sure. So that is a great question. It is a common one that we often find from family members who really feel like their loved ones could benefit from services, but they might not yet quite realize that. So a couple of things that I did want to mention, that it is important that we do have the senior who would be receiving the services, that they are initiating the service. So it is important for us to really make sure that they are on board with that. A couple of ways that we know that have worked is really to let them know more about what ElderHelp is all about, and really our mission, which is to keep people independent in their homes. I think when people think about having services or thinking of different options, they might feel like their independence is being taken away. And for us, we're really wanting to make sure that we're supporting somebody's independence, and they are at the table with us to figure out what services they feel like they could benefit from. So it might just be having a different conversation with them, and maybe letting them know that you heard about a service and you thought that it might be something to look into, giving them some information to take the time so that they don't feel like it's rushed. We do have some resources on our website as well that might be good tips for how to have that conversation. But once your grandma does feel like she is ready to begin the process, she's in the driver's seat. So she would be the one to really initiate and to have a conversation with us so that we can find out how we can support her independence. So I hope that answers your question. If you have another follow-up, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. If any of these questions and answers prompt you to want some follow-up information, great. So the follow-up is, thanks. Do you have open house events that I could take her to? Maybe some of your outreach events.
I know. So yeah. we do through ElderHelp. We had recently an open house event in October, and I don't know that we're having another open house coming up in the near future, but there are a lot of different community events that we do participate in, and as for me, I do most of the outreach for the organization, so I typically am participating in those events and have a table with our information. That might be a good way to kind of bring her to one of those events and let her know what services are out there, and she might see somebody that is familiar to her as well. We have those. They tend to be on our website, and with it being springtime, they're going to be having quite a few events. So definitely keep an eye on our website, see what's coming up, and they happen all throughout the year too. But that might be a good option.
Yeah, and so for everybody who's in the webinar today, you're going to be receiving a follow-up email from me. So the same email that you were sent with the login details. So if you have any specific questions like we just talked about, or you'd like to be kept informed about specific community events that we might be representing at, be sure and let me know in that follow-up email, and I'll make sure that we get the information to the right person, whether it's Nancy or Carrie or Shanique or myself, and then we keep you informed of whatever it is. If you want additional resources about a program, but you will be receiving that in the follow-up. So we'll let you know. Follow-up on that was, I was at an October event where I learned about your organization. Everyone was super nice and helpful. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
We do have a pretty good crew here. I have another question here. It looks like it's for you, Nancy. It says, I'm very interested in doing the driving program, but I'm I tend to get really busy during the week. How does the process work to schedule rides for people?
Okay, that's a great question. The way that it works is our members call in and they'll tell us what time to pick them up and where they're going and what time they're going to be going home. Once we get all that information, we put it in a program called Ride Scheduler that's really very easy to use. And so what volunteers are able to do is once we bring them on board and they're active volunteers, they get an email from me saying that, you're now a volunteer driver. I give them the log on, and then they're able to log on to that site and see, which rides are available. Members do have to call their rides in 7 days or more in advance, and that's because we found out that that is the best time frame for us to put rides out there in order for our volunteers to be able to select them. So how you get to pick how many rides you want. If you're extremely busy, some people pick one ride a month, other people pick up several rides a week or a day. I have somebody who sometimes picks up 3 a day, so it's all dependent on the driver's schedule.
Great. I see that a few more people have joined us, and I want to just make sure that you don't feel discouraged if you feel like you've missed the first half of it. We are recording this, and if you've RSVP'd to be here, I've got your contact info, and so I'll send all of you the link to the archived recording of today, and you can go back and listen to what we've already discussed. We've covered some of the bases of our programs, and right now we're in a question and answer portion about our services: Concierge Club, Home Share, Seniors a Go-Go, and the volunteer experience. So even if you've jumped in on the webinar a little bit late, if you have any questions specifically about any of our programs and services or the volunteering experience, this would be a great time to use the instant message feature and just let us know if you have any comments or questions. I have another one for you, Shanika, that it says, the question is, let me scroll down here. This is, it must be for somebody who's looking for a home share, a home seeker looking for a match. How much rent will I have to pay is the question.
Another good question. So right now we're finding that the average amount of rent that our home providers are requesting is about $650 a month, and that could include utilities or be separate from that. And of course, it just kind of depends on each person and what they're looking for, as well as what their motivations are. And so if they are looking for a housemate in order to supplement their rent so that their expenses are easier to manage, then they might be looking for a specific amount that they're missing every month. Or if they're not in need of rent and they're more interested in companionship or the services aspect of the match, then they might not charge any rent at all, or it might be a small or nominal fee. And also, if I could add to Carrie's response to the question earlier about speaking to someone about the program without them feeling threatened by the idea of it, I often encounter that with a lot of my potential members as well. And one thing that seems to help is reminding them that our mission here at ElderHelp is to allow them to maintain their independence, and so they can feel confident that we're not trying to take anything away from them and that we're actually just trying to contribute to their lives in some way. And also making sure that, a potential member or even your grandma knows that all of our services are offered at will. And so as long as someone is in good standing with us and is interested in our services, then we'll definitely try to help them. And all of the power is always in their hands. So if it's something they want to continue, we can help them with that. But if they decide that it's not for them, that's fine as well.
Great segue, Shanika. Thank you for saying that. And then again, to reiterate for those who came in a little bit late, just to clarify, all of our programs at ElderHelp and our services are funded by ongoing grant applications, fundraising events, and through private, individual, and corporate group donations. And we go through this model so that all of our services are available on a 100% donation basis. So that might be something else to talk with your grandmother about. segue into, can you tell me more about the March 5th Essence of Life event? Carrie or Shanika or Nancy?
Sure, I can tell you more about that. So that is our annual Essence of Life event that we are looking forward to, 1.5 weeks away now. It will be an opportunity for us to really give people the chance to learn more about ElderHelp and the efforts that we've made throughout the past year. It's also a good opportunity for us to recognize those partners and those who have made our efforts possible. So we have different awards that we will be providing to our corporate partners, different volunteer spotlight, a member spotlight. So you'll really get a good idea of who we are and what we're doing. And as Teresa mentioned, you know, part of our efforts do involve fundraising. So it is a great opportunity to also support an organization like ours in the community and keep us around. So we have a lot of information on our website that talks more about it. And it will be at the Southwestern Yacht Club in Point Loma area. So it's a beautiful location. It should be a really nice day. And if you're interested, definitely check out our website.
Yeah, it's a very fun event. Anything you would like to piggyback on that, Shanika or Nancy?
No, I think Carrie covered it.
Just for me, just to say that this year our member spotlight will actually be a home share member who's been in the program for many, many years, at least, I believe, 6 or 8 years or so, and she's been matched successfully many times. And so for anyone who's hoping to hear about, you know, a success story or anything like that, she'll be there and we'll be talking a bit about her success in the program and how it's helped her to remain in her home over all of these years.
So I'll be sure and include in the follow-up email from today's webinar an informational flyer about Essence in case you're interested in coming or want to ask a few more questions about it via email. Thanks you guys so much for talking about the programs. We're going to kind of transition now. We are, as I said earlier, in case you came in after we'd already discussed the reach that we have here at ElderHelp, last fiscal year, we served over 7,400 seniors and their families around San Diego County. And we do know that the demand for our services is extremely high. We know that 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every single day, and that the majority of them wish to age in place. In order to age in place, we know that an estimated 70% of people over the age of 65 and over will require additional support to do so. So we really are trying to support a large demographic in our own community. We know that the support that people need in order to age in place comes in a variety of different ways. Last fiscal year, we received over 3,500 intake and referral calls. These were from concerned spouses, daughters, sons, neighbors, community members, church members calling about services for an aging loved one that they know. There's a considerable amount of research going into this ever-increasing group of people for many reasons, partially because the majority of people who are playing the role of a family caregiver are untrained, unpaid, and under-supported. Daughters, sons, son-in-laws, nieces, neighbors, grandchildren, etc. People like you, maybe, or definitely me. And we're attempting to navigate a highly confusing matrix of healthcare, Medicare, Medicaid, chronic disease management, memory loss, and frailty. And just talking about the 44 million American family caregivers, I want to note, it's important to note that 34 million of those, so a significant amount of that demographic, were providing care to a person age 50 and older, and that's unpaid care in the last 12 months, and that was according to a survey from 2015. The average caregiver, we know, is around the age of 49.2. There are slightly more women than men who are playing this role of family caregiver. And some of that is because that it goes back to more of our society's cultural and traditional roles, that women played that role. And as women entered the workforce, now we see the percentage of male family caregivers increasing as people are sharing responsibilities for some of the more domestic-related responsibilities that were traditionally women. Concerning with the 44 million people who are family caregivers is that 56% of those people are working full-time, which is on average for the studies 34.9 hours per week. So 56% of family caregivers are working full-time, and then the average amount of time spent family caregiving or caring is 24.1 hours of caregiving per week, and that's on top of their full-time work week. We also know that many of those people who are working full-time, providing family caregiving to an aging loved one, are also raising their own children, and that we refer to as people who fall into the sandwich category, the sandwich generation. So what is a family caregiver specifically? Just out of curiosity, if you're on the IM here, is there anybody who is with us right now that self-identifies as a family caregiver, including our presenters here today, Shanika, Carrie, and Nancy? If you do self-identify, let me see it in the instant message here. And if you're not sure what it is, I will clarify that. A family caregiver is anyone who provides physical, social, emotional, and/or financial care to someone who is ill, disabled, or aging and requires assistance with daily life. Does anybody? Okay, so Laura says she does. Yeah. And private, I see that, yes, Shanika does. I do, definitely.
I do.
Carrie does.
I don't currently, but I have in the past.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. As a segue, Nancy just said that she doesn't currently self-identify as a family caregiver, but has been in the past. And this is a wonderful quote from Rosalind Carter. There are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who currently are caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. So as we're seeing, we know that family caregiving will touch the lives of everyone out there in some way, either directly or indirectly. The name family caregiving can be somewhat misleading. Family caregiving is what's considered in our industry at ElderHelp, quote unquote, an informal service. So again, it's typically unpaid, untrained, and under-supported. Family caregivers do not have to be, is not designated by kinship. This does not have to be a relative in order for you to be the carer. It's about personal relationship. So again, you could be a family caregiver for your partner, your neighbor, a friend, a spouse, an in-law. It doesn't matter. It also doesn't always look the same. So depending on the relationship, the personal relationship between you, the family caregiver, and the carer and the care recipient, that's not always whatever types of support services you provide can be very different. You could be the primary care partner. The word care partner is interchangeable with family caregiver. Care partner is a little bit more empowering. I prefer to use that word because it honors the care recipient more and allows that there's a two-way relationship. But those terms are interchangeable if you're talking with doctors or any other types of specialists or your loved one. If you're playing the role as a primary care partner, you probably know that you are a care partner. That is when your loved one depends on you for regular assistance with 2 or more activities in their life. You may also act as their representative when necessary. A secondary care partner is a little bit different. That's a parent, a sibling, a spouse, etc. that functions as the primary, the spouse, the sibling, etc. functions as the primary care partner, and you provide assistance to them. So I'll give you a scenario. Living long distance in my own family, my sister provides primary care partnering support to our parents, but because I'm long distance, I spend the majority of my time supporting her as a secondary care partner. And some of the ways that I do that are by looking for services online, anything that can be done remotely, I do to support her in her role because she plays more of a physical role in supporting them. Another type of family caregiving is crisis caregiving. And that's when your loved one functions independently most of the time, but you're on the first responders list if there should be an emergency. So this might be your mother, father-in-law, or both are living independently, let's say, even in your own neighborhood, but if something were to happen in an emergency situation, your life would be affected immediately because you would need to support them in some way. Again, physical, emotional, financial, or otherwise. Long-distance support caregiving is the example that I just gave about myself. Your loved one lives in another city or state, and you may provide crisis or ongoing support via technology and telephone or frequent travel. So I do identify as a secondary care partner for my sister, but then also as a long-distance crisis caregiver because when things do happen, I do book a flight and get there as quickly as possible. Occasional caregivers mean that you might support somebody on an irregular basis and may be part of a larger support network. You might self-identify as an occasional caregiver if you are working, let's say, with a group from your church or from your neighborhood to assist somebody who's living in your community. You might have a team of people, and then every Tuesday or the first Tuesday of the month you do grocery shopping for that person. That's an occasional caregiver, and it is usually part of a larger support network that might be your sister, your brother, your sister-in-law, cousin, might look something like that. Going back to the Rosalind Carter quote, are you a future caregiver? Are you planning ahead? Are you here today because you are fully aware that something is going to need to happen in the life of an aging loved one in your family or in your community, and you're trying to prepare yourself with information? For future caregivers, there are aging loved ones who you are preparing to assist in some capacity in the future as needed. And if that's the case, if you're a future caregiver on this webinar, I applaud you. So when we talked about assistance with their daily living, I thought it was important to put the types of help that you give into a really specific context with this language, ADLs and IADLs. These are good acronyms and categories for you to know and be able to speak about if you are advocating for a loved one. ADLs are called activities of daily living, and that includes walking, bathing, restroom, dressing, and eating. These are activities that a person needs to do every day in order to survive. Whether or not a person is capable of performing these activities without assistance determines their level of their independence. And if you're helping somebody, an aging loved one, with their ADLs, you probably know that you're some sort of a family caregiver. Instrumental activities of daily living, or what's called IADLs, are things like assistance with driving, meal prep, shopping, medication management, advocacy, household management and finances, communication with healthcare professionals, research, and tech support. And IADLs, how I remember it, it's called Instrumental Activities of Daily Living, but I use the I as independence because if you're assisting somebody with IADLs and they're able to maintain their own activities of daily living on their own, then you're helping them remain I for independent. And ElderHelp is an agency that provides formal support services with IADLs. So our Seniors a Go-Go program, with meals and things, other types of formal support services include organizations that you may have heard of, like Meals on Wheels. And there are a lot of wonderful social services agencies that provide these types of support for IADLs for seniors who are living in the home. Almost 60% of informal, as it's called, which is a term that I definitely do not like, but the informal caregivers or family caregivers are doing things that nurses, medical assistants, and other trained medical professionals typically do. So again, that's why it's important for us that you're able to self-identify if you are a family caregiver so that you know that there are resources out there to support you in that role. So looking through this little yes and no checklist, some of the questions on this checklist may resonate with you. I'm the primary contact for a senior in the event of an emergency. I say yes to that. I sometimes feel guilty about not spending enough time helping a senior in my life. Can you say yes to that? How many of you who are on the call now can say yes to at least one thing on this list? If you can say yes to, I'm concerned about the well-being and safety of a senior and often worry about them. I'm not sure if everyone is sharing the screen or not, but it's a series of questions that are yes or no to help you identify whether or not you are a family caregiver. I'm seeing yes, I'm seeing an oh yes, and our response says not currently, but yes, in the future, I see. Yeah, a lot of yeses. So if you can say yes to one of these questions and about an aging loved one, then you are a family caregiver. So why is it important? Why is it important for you to self-identify as a family caregiver? It's important because it's an essential first step in helping you in a role that, while gratifying and meaningful, can also be complex and very overwhelming. You're not alone, and there are many, many resources and support systems that exist to help you in this incredibly important role that you play as a family caregiver. If you're here today, this is an excellent first step. We will be continuing a series of webinars, monthly webinars here at ElderHelp to help you in this role, to help you be equipped with information, services, resources, and outlets for you as a family caregiver. The webinar today had a significant portion dedicated to our programs and services at ElderHelp. And the Family Caregiver Support Program is sort of the newest branch of support services that we have created to provide some sort of resources, support, and outlet for those 3,500 information and referral phone calls that we got last fiscal year. We realized that the demand is high and that doing direct service for seniors who would like to remain in their own home is fabulous, but we also need to be supporting family caregivers as well. So we'll be offering this webinar occasionally where we talk a lot about our programs and services, because that's also important for family caregivers to know what we do. But we'll also be having monthly webinars which are dedicated completely to topics related to family caregiving. So be sure and let me know when you get your post-webinar email from me if you want to join us for the next upcoming webinar on March 9th, which is Family Caregiving 101. And it's going to be a wonderful opportunity to go more in depth about a plan, a strategy, resources that are available for you to help you be more joyful and effective in the role of family caregiving. I want to just allow the last few minutes here to, figure out, okay, there we go, to, for anybody who came in partway through the webinar, or if you've been here for the whole webinar, to have some question and answer. Again, Shanika is on the call with us. Shanika, you're unmuted, so if any more questions have come up about the Concierge Club, Seniors a Go-Go, Home Share, the volunteer experience, if you're a family caregiver or planning to be a family caregiver and you'd like to have any specific questions, now would be a really great time. You're welcome to IM us publicly or privately. You will remain anonymous. And we look forward to, okay, so I see I've got one private message here, and it says, I'm feeling distressed because I play the role of family caregiver for my mom and she refuses to get help from anyone else but me. That's a really common thing that I hear. That could be very frustrating. It goes back to the conversation that we had earlier from one of the participants wanting to know how to communicate with her grandmother about getting services from ElderHelp. In the role of family caregiver, it's extremely common for the care recipient to only want help from their loved one, the carer. So we will be exploring some of these really psychologically delicate subjects in our ongoing webinars. But what I can say for now is that sometimes we contribute to that. I'm going to speak from personal experience. As a crisis family caregiver, I found myself doing everything because that's just how I am wired instinctively. And so I started just doing everything and not asking for help because I know how my mom likes her tea, and I know the shows that she likes to watch and win, and I know how she likes to keep her house. So in my mind, it made more sense for me to just take care of it all than to ask for help. So that's the first step that I would say is, is there any opportunity where I could be receiving help? Maybe it's not help with bathing or using the restroom, some of the really more intimate roles that we play as family caregivers. But is there anything that I could be asking for help with? Maybe it's having a neighbor or a friend on speed dial that calls or texts you every time they're at the supermarket to see if there's anything that you need. Are there little things that people could do that you don't even really have to be that close to, or maybe they're not even close to your loved one who's receiving the care? So that's something that we'll be talking more about in the future. Those types of delicate psychological interactions between carer and care recipient, for sure. Does anybody else have any other questions? Oh, I see I have one more home share question for you, Shanika. Oops, in the wrong spot. I just got out of it on accident. Okay, so I'm assuming this is from somebody who is interested in the home share program as a home provider. And the question is, what if a match doesn't work out? Can you find someone a new roommate? That's a good question.
Oh, absolutely. And so if a match doesn't work out, we usually just chalk that up to it not being a good fit. And so as long as both parties or the interested party is still in good standing with the program, we can absolutely try to find them a new fit. We would simply update their preferences and try to find out where the last match went wrong so that going forward and trying to find a new match, we can be on the right track and hopefully find them someone that's better suited the next time.
Great. Let's see, Nancy, Carrie, Shanika, is there anything you'd like to add before we sign off for today? Or anybody who has joined us, do you have any specific questions for us regarding family caregiving issues?
I would just say thank you so much for joining us, and please do check out our website if you have any questions or want to find out more information, but also give us a call. We are happy to answer questions about any of our programs or the volunteer opportunities. And as Teresa mentioned, make sure that you're looking into our upcoming webinars so that you can have a little bit more in depth on the family caregiver side. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Shanika. And again, I will be emailing you with a follow-up with a very brief survey and also any of the information that we talked about today, specifically a little flyer about Essence of Life, which was brought up. I will send also a little one-page about our upcoming webinar on March 9th. And if you have any further questions that have come up from today, feel free to just reply to the email and we'll get you more information about our services or programs or anything else you might need a resource for. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a great day.